The film opens with waitress Drew, aka I Know It Ain't,
I know it ain't the stallion. You know it's your girl.
who treats her customers more like her family. She's later picked up by her best friend and roommate Alyssa, aka Solana Imani Rowe,
Grammy goes to Solana Imani Rose.
who is an artist but hasn't had much luck selling her artwork. They live in a part of Los Angeles called the Jungles, which houses a small community of folks. They unfortunately share their apartment with Alyssa's no-good thou, throwing his sneakers all over, no job, no aspirations, big downstairs junk, freeloading boyfriend Kashawn. Of course, Drew hates him, but Alyssa can't seem to cut ties with him. I think it's because Alyssa's digmatized. Seriously, you guys, if his downstairs is real, that is just insane. After work, Drew goes to Mama Ruth's, their apartments vendor, where she runs into a man called Maniac, whom Drew is attracted to. Later, the tenants watch in awe as their first white neighbor, a young woman named Bethany, moves in, mostly because she's the first and only whitey that has moved in. She approaches Drew and Alyssa because they're more or less the same age, but they aren't keen in hanging out with her. As Drew tries to rest before a big interview later the day, she is woken up by the sound of pounding on the door, and it is Uchai coming to collect the rent, since it is the first of the month. What do you mean? Alyssa told me she gave you the rent. No, she didn't. Yes, she did. I'm not an idiot. I would know if she did. He then gives them until 6 that day to gather the rent money, or they will be kicked out. Alyssa tells her that she gave the money to Keshawn to give to Uche. As they're about to confront him, they find he's already gone. The ladies find one Keshawn's phones and bring it to their hairdresser, Jamil, to jailbreak it. They find out that Keshawn is cheating with a woman named Bernice, and she's a vicious, violent, doesn't take poop, doesn't like people trying her. They find Bernice's apartment, with Drew creating a distraction by pretending to be childhood friends, while Alyssa sneaks into the bedroom and they find the devil himself, Keshawn, sleeping. She tries to grab his wallet, but he wakes up. Keshawn tells her that he spent their rent money on his knockoff t-shirt business, which he says is his own version of a luxury brand called Coochie. Bernice catches on to the distraction and finds Alyssa in the room. They start to run, but find that their car was towed because Alyssa parked right in front of a fire hydrant. Bernice chases them on foot until she runs headfirst into an open car door, humiliating her in front of the whole neighborhood. She then vows revenge against Drew and Alyssa. With 8 hours to go before they are evicted, Drew and Alyssa resort to going to a loan office, called Payday Whenever, to try and get rent money. A man outside tries to persuade them against it, and who is it besides the one and only whose white baby is that?
Whose goddamn white baby is that?
Baby is rice-skinned, but not light-skinned. That is a white child. That is Caucasian from the mountains of Caucasus.
Lucky is exactly how Cat Williams is in real life. Their loan officer named Kathy is very obnoxious and mocks Alyssa for having no income and Drew for having a ridiculously low credit score. She even laughs right in their face. After failing to get a loan, Drew and Alyssa go to a blood bank to donate to earn quick cash for it. Of course, Drew's nurse is inexperienced and convinces her to donate 4 bags in order to get more money, and her skin actually gets discolorated and really pale. Alyssa and Ruby get into a fight, which leads to them dropping Drew's blood bags everywhere, and even on the other donators, causing a mess and leaving them with no money, except for some vouchers for apple pies at Church's Chicken. She also tells them that they should go to the hospital, lost and found, for some clean clothes. The ladies go to Church's for their food, only for a known masked bandit to make off with their reward. This is witnessed by Maniac, who pulls up in his car as he was getting food. He buys food for Drew and Alyssa, who are thankful. Afterwards, Alyssa leaves the two alone, since she has come up with an idea for how to make money, and also so Drew can be alone with Maniac so that he can work his magic. While riding with him, Drew learns that Maniac used to live a gang life, and she also sees an axe on the car's floor, which was hidden behind the seat. Not long after, Drew gets a phone call from Lucky telling her that Alyssa is about to do something life-threatening. Maniac drives her there to find that Alyssa has climbed a landline to get a pair of retro Air Jordans that someone threw up on the wires. Drew tries to talk her down, but Alyssa insists on getting them because they're worth a lot. She manages to get them down, but she is electrocuted and falls right on top of Drew. They end up in an ambulance, but run when it stops moving, so they don't have to pay for the bill, but the EMTs tell them they know where to bill them. Drew and Alyssa arrange with a buyer to get the Jordans after cleaning them up. Drew meets the buyer, while Alyssa stands in the sidelines in case something bad happens. She makes up a story about how they belong to her dad, but unfortunately he died. This makes the buyer cry, and telling her that now he's always going to be thinking about this sad story of her, forcing Drew knock the price down, but it turns out that was his plan all along, to get the sneakers for a lot cheaper. So they get $1,000 less than what was promised, but they finally have enough to pay their rent. Meanwhile, Bernice has been going through town with Keshawn, trying to find the ladies. They pass by churches where the biscuit bandit strikes again, but Bernice really doesn't play, and she runs him over with her car and gets her food back. Alyssa helps fix Drew up a bit before her interview, and really all they do is just slap on a blazer over the club outfit. Dro meets with Norman and Shayla. Oh my Shayla.
Oh my God. Oh my God. My Shayla.
They both really connect with Drew, and she makes an insanely solid impression. Outside, Alyssa buys a fruit cup from a cart and takes pictures with the vendor to send to Kashawn, Tooth, and I quote, show him what a man with a job looks like. Bernice sees the pictures and knows exactly where to find them. Just as Drew is finishing up the interview and being told by Shayla that she is exactly what they are looking for, they witness Bernice beating Alyssa, and unfortunately, Drew is unable to pretend she doesn't know them because Alyssa is calling her name. Drew tries to defend Alyssa, but Bernice beats them both up and even literally booty slams them for added humiliation. To add insult to injury, she further steals the money they just made. Shayla tells Drew that maybe she is not what they are looking for after all, and she should really leave. Drew finds out the whole reason they found them was because Alyssa texted Keshawn. The ladies end up having a huge fight where they insult each other an insane amount and they go their separate ways, but Alyssa gets a phone call from neighborhood thug King Lolo. The Jordans that Alyssa sold apparently belong to him, and he wants twice as much money as what they were sold for by 10 that night, or he will end the both of them. The two go back home to find that Uche has already moved their stuff out onto the street since it is 6:30. Drew pleads with him since it is still the first of the month and he gives them until just before midnight to come up with the rent. Drew and Alyssa sit on their couch outside in defeat until Bethany walks by and sees Alyssa's artwork. Drew sells one of them to Bethany for $300, and then they take Bethany up on her Prosecco and Pals offer. Drew proposes an idea to Alyssa that they set up a pop-up art show that night so Bethany can invite her rich hipster friends, and simultaneously they can pay hundreds for Alyssa's artwork, hoping to make enough money to pay the rent and pay off Lolo. The ladies put on the art show with 3 hours left until Lolo comes to collect. A surprise guest, Shayla, shows up after being invited by some friends of Bethany's, and Drew is able to talk to her so that Shayla can give her a second chance. Shayla tells her that she really was the best candidate they had today, and truly if she's still interested, she should come by and see them again. They manage to make up the $2,000, but Alyssa suggests that they keep the money and not be scared of Lolo. Dumb idea, right? And soon enough, Lolo and his goons have shown up 5 minutes before their deadline. He fires off a gunshot to scare the crowd away, leaving Drew alone to confront him before Alyssa creates a distraction for Drew to run. Drew and Alyssa hide in the streets, underneath a car, until someone, believed to be the cops, comes to get Lolo, forcing him to run. Drew and Alyssa run back into their apartment to hide, only to find Keshawn there with dozens of candles lit up to try and win Alyssa back since he is now terrified of Bernice and realized she's too fierce for him. Alyssa refuses to get back together, just as Lolo shows up and prepares to end everyone. A piece of the ceiling falls on his head and knocks him out, but the candles cause a fire that spreads throughout their apartment. Alyssa suggests saving Lolo despite his attempt to end them, and drag him into another room with them. While they're hiding, Drew and Alyssa reaffirm their love for one another, and that they still want to be each other's friends. They are saved moments later by firefighters, led by Maniac, and it seems that the axe in his car is just for his job for firefighting. Lolo is apprehended by the loan officers since Alyssa called them because she saw Lolo's picture on their wall of bounties for delinquent borrowers and put 2 and 2 together. Maniac tells Drew that Uche will be in trouble due to violating fire hazard protocols, but they might be able to be saved with home insurance. The movie ends with credits explaining that Drew and Alyssa got a new landlord who helped fix their apartment. Keyshawn talked Bethany into letting him crash at her place, but her dog chewed up all of Keshawn's sneakers.
When I was homeless in LA, when I didn't want to sleep, if I didn't know where I was going to sleep and I wanted a place to sleep, I would go on Tinder and I would, talk to girls, and I would just stay at Tinder girls' houses like all the time.
How many nights in a month?
Endless nights, man.
Nobody ever messed with Bernice again, but sometimes she wishes a bee would. Ruby went back to stripping after many failed attempts at getting a real job. Lucky is still lucky. Alyssa's artwork now sells for $1,000, while Drew is killing it as a franchise manager while maintaining a relationship Maniac. Together, they now have a combined credit score of 447, but they are working on it together as best friends.